Hello, everyone. I'm Bonnie Low-Kramen. I am your host for Heads Together on this wonderful Wednesday. And hi, Jen Wilner.
Hey, Bonnie.
How are things up there in New Jersey?
All right, fall's coming. Fall's on
Yeah.
its way.
Oh my gosh. Here we
In
are in
the air.
beginning of October. Somebody made the comment earlier today that, it's only 12 weeks until the end of the year. And 2022 just sounds very space age to me.
Yes, it does.
It's so crazy. Well, I'm excited about today's show. There's been a new development in the land of administrative professionals, and perhaps our viewers have been seeing the notifications on LinkedIn and other social media. But I wanted to add my voice here. I know, Jen, you and I've talked about this global skills matrix.
Yes.
www.globalskillsmatrix.com. Well, hi, Lynn DeLuca. Lynn, you're always the first one in. I'm so happy to see you from Akron, Ohio. Today, we're talking about the Global Skills Matrix, which is an initiative that was brought forth by the World Administrators Alliance. This is a very dedicated group, international group of assistants, former assistants, trainers. I'm a member. And for 6 years, this group has been working on a very important project called the Global Skills Matrix. I'm not sure it was always called that, but the group has been dedicated to creating a framework for administrative professionals in the world, not just in Europe, not just the United States, but all over. Welcome to the show, Beth, from Maryland. Happy to have you here. Today's conversation is about the Global Skills Matrix, which just launched a matter of weeks ago, and it's been 6 years in the making. I think the timing is kind of perfect. The project, which is globalskillsmatrix.com. Jen, if you could bring up the website and just to show everybody what it looks like. When you go to the website, this is what you see. And it's free. This document is free to anybody who goes to the website. And it's designed that way. And yeah, Jen is scrolling down on the webpage where you can download your copy. You just have to enter your email address. It offers an executive summary, and then the website is awesome and gives tons of information about what it is and why it is. Today, I want to talk about that from my point of view here in the United States and what I'm seeing. On Heads Together, we talk a lot about the need for accurate job descriptions and accurate titles, and those two things lead to fair compensation, or it should. Hey, welcome, Claudia. Why don't you put up Claudia's comment, Jen? Claudia checked it out, and it was released just in time for a core values project I'm working on already, shared with HR.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Claudia. That's the point of this document. Here's the thing. Some companies have their acts together when it comes to the structure of the administrative staff. There are some companies that have levels and it's organized and there are clear job descriptions that are accurate and up to the minute for the role. But what is also clear is that many more companies do not have such a structure, and that there's been a lot of confusion in the workplace. And in fact, in the matrix document, you're going to see that the group, the team that has been working for 6 years, came up with the list of all the titles for this role, and it's up to 160 different job titles. And I'm sure just on this call alone, you probably have different titles. Feel free to put it in the chat. Feel free to put your comments, your questions in the chat. Welcome, Sharon. Happy to have you here from Canada. We're talking about structure for administrative staff inside companies, because to the companies that do not have a structure, the one that it's been kind of like winging it and playing it by ear over the years, and people lobbying for a new title just because, and there's really no rhyme or reason to the way it goes, except to keep things moving, except to kind of keep running and staying ahead of, people, saying, well, I'm going to leave unless I can get a new title, or unless I can get, these things added to my job description. That's part of the reason why there was such a need for this document. This website, globalskillsmatrix.com, it gives validity to the role. It gives credibility to the role. It validates and professionalizes what this thing is that the rest of us know exists in the world. But inside the profession, we know that there's a lot of confusion and a lot of mixed messages. Outside of the profession, it doesn't appear that way. And we also know, and we've talked about it on Heads Together, that there are some obsolete perceptions of this role that exist in the world. And those aren't okay either. The old ideas of what assistants do. And, with a pandemic that's been brewing for the better part of the last year and a half or more, the role has changed. And so what are companies doing with that? That's where the Global Skills Matrix comes in. Jen, if you could go to that next page with the levels. This is from the document itself. What the team did is that they came up with levels for this role, for the scope of the role. And where level one is entry level, up to level 5, which is chief of staff. And included in this document is the job description for each, and the titles that could go along with it. But there it's a framework. It is considered to be a living, breathing document. It's not meant to be like, oh, this is it, this is the only way it can be, with no flexibility. No, actually, it is meant to open up the conversation. Step 1 is for you, each of you, to go to the website, download it, read it, to see if it has a place in your company, or an organization that you're working with, that can be modified. This document can absolutely be modified to your purposes. Let's see what Megan has to say. Welcome, Megan. Happy you're here. That you became an EA around the same time this project was beginning, so 6 years ago. And I remember talk of it at the first EA conference I attended. It's exciting to see. Yes, thank you for sharing that, Megan. 6 years this thing has been in the making. And what's so awesome, there are so many things that are awesome about it, but the truth is that the people who designed these levels and the job descriptions that go along with it are assistants and former assistants and trainers in the field. It's not like outsiders speaking to this role. It is people who actually know what this role is, and what the people do in the space of this role. You see, level 4, a strategic business partner. And that's, just one step before chief of staff, which involves direct reports and things like that. So for companies that do not currently have a structure for this role, this is a beautiful development in the world. And given that we're going to be coming out of this pandemic soon, I hope, the workplace will have been very changed from the last couple of years. And there's no doubt that most companies are going to have to do some recalibration for many roles, not just the administrative role, but many roles inside companies. I heard something recently that 2021 is being referred to as the year of the job description. The year of the job description. Now, we know as assistants, for the assistants on this call, that so many assistants are functioning with obsolete and very generic job descriptions, that you were given a job description years ago that bears very little resemblance to what you're actually doing now. And what you were doing in February of 2020 probably bears some resemblance to what you're doing now, but certainly it's changed. I would argue or, suggest that chances are it has changed either some or quite a bit. And, it bears repeating that if your job description that you have right now is either non-existent or it is not accurate, it is imperative that you create yourself a job description that is accurate, because it may not happen next week, but I think that in a matter of weeks, maybe months, a combination of HR, leadership in companies are going to be addressing this issue about the change in job descriptions. It's just it's so volatile right now. So now would be the perfect time to check this document out to see its applicability in your company and to perhaps set up a meeting with HR and or with your leaders to discuss it. Many companies this is already in the mix. This is already being discussed, as Claudia shared for her company. It's so great to be able to go in and, we know that, everybody can identify a problem or a challenge, but it's a whole other thing to say, and here is an idea about how we can solve this. It's kind of done for you. And this will represent a big change in the workplace when it's adopted by companies, or a version of it is adopted by companies. Hi, Deb. Welcome. I'm really happy to have you here from Boulder, Colorado. Sure would welcome comments and questions in the chat about, do you have a really good structure for the administrative staff at your company? And if not, do you believe that this document might how will it be received at companies? I can imagine in some cases, HR will be not thrilled because it's like, oh my gosh, what are you suggesting to me? But in other cases, it may be a different reception. So I certainly would love to hear from you about what you think are the possibilities for a document such as this. Frankly, I think the time has come for new structure for the administrative staff, mainly because of so many changes. Pre-pandemic, I can tell you as a trainer, I've been hearing for many years that there has been a frustration among the administrative staff because of a lack of accurate job descriptions, titles that were all over the place and not accurate to essentially say what you do. And certainly a big pain point was compensation. So Jen, you could take down that page. Lynn is saying that this document will be very helpful in whatever new position I'm able to find. I think so, Lynn. That's really valuable. Assistants we show our value when we come to the table with resources and ideas that can make it better. And by the way, you can volunteer to be part of the team putting it together to roll it out. it's interesting that over these last few years, when we teach the Be the Ultimate Assistant workshop, inevitably assistants will share the kind of structures that they have in their companies. And it's so haphazard. I can tell you that it's just been very kind of knee-jerk and all over the place. No real formality in some of the biggest companies. It's so interesting how it has worked, and that causes a lot of confusion. This role is the only one really that is completely dependent on the people you support. It's not standalone just by the nature of the job description that you are in support of. And so you are automatically tied to the people you're supporting. And therein lies a lot of confusion. So let's see what Sharon has to say. Sharon, you always have such wonderful things to say. Having a job description that accurately reflects what you are doing is so important. In some cases, HR does not understand the scope of what many are managing, and having a manager that will advocate for you is extremely important. This document sounds like a gift. Yeah, I have to say, I'm happy I lived to see the day. I really am. This is a game changer. I know that's a cliche term, but for so long, this role has been in the land of so much confusion and nebulous ideas. Like, what does she do? Does she file? Does she answer phones? Like, there's this perception that is rooted in like the 1960s. And then there are more evolved leaders who get it. And as Sharon said, which is so crazy, isn't it? That even some HR professionals don't really understand what assistants do. And a document like this spells it out. And as I said, it can be modified for your company because it's, not the same, that the depth and breadth of responsibilities for this role vary widely, depending on the industry, et cetera. Claudia, agree with Lynn, a tool for us to use to sell our skills as well as a tool for organizations to use to sell their positions. Thank you, Claudia. It seems to me that the more high tech the workplace becomes, the more there's going to be a need for structure around this role. That in many cases, the administrative role does not resemble what it did 15, 20 years ago. And in large part, that's due to the technological advances that have been made and the responsibilities and the needs that you are filling. And therefore, if the word assistant is in your title, it's not that's inherently a bad thing, but it summons a perception. And if the perception in your particular company is, well, an assistant can only make so much money and is not eligible for bonuses and, part of the old structure, then it may be time to look at some new titles. Because what we've seen in recent years is that sometimes companies choose to give an administrator a different title, project administrator, take the word assistant out, team leader, administrative support manager. If the word assistant is taken out, oftentimes a company leaders, HR can justify paying you more money, and, we've heard, and on the show, we've talked about that there is a war for talent. There's a talent shortage. I'm hearing from recruiters every week wanting me to post jobs on LinkedIn, and salaries are going up. There's headlines that talk about the Great Resignation, the resignation tsunami. So and you've probably noticed that there's a labor shortage. It's kind of hard to miss. It's not only in the administrative field, but you probably have bumped into, a business that you're trying to go to, and their hours are shorter, or the waits are really long because there simply aren't enough staff to fill these jobs. That goes for hospitality, but that also is applying to the administrative field. And I say this based on my communications with recruiters all over the United States and even in Europe, but primarily the United States. What does Eva have to say? We've never had a job description in my organization on any level. Actually, the reason is it limits what you can do. It's a document that's very much alive and needs to be modified regularly. I really like to see where we are and where we can go to be more strategic. I would very much like to have some tools on how to achieve more competence, to be able to move up on the levels, also to use this on our mandatory yearly employee talk. Eva, all of that is true. This document gives you ammunition, essentially. It gives the language around structure and a framework for this role. And, assistants have been joking forever that on job descriptions, there's that line, other duties as assigned, and that's that catch-all. Job descriptions absolutely need to be living, breathing documents. In fact, at our classes, I often refer to the Campbell Soup Company. You probably know Campbell Soup. And years ago, the team there told me that one of the things they do, and I think they still do it, is they have job descriptions that are signed when a person gets hired. And then every year, whether they're there 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, every year at an annual meeting, they bring that job description out and sign it again, having revised it. Now, I frankly think that is a brilliant idea because it really communicates the seriousness that this document has. This is because job description equals money. What we've seen in the last couple of years, certainly this started pre-pandemic, is an advocacy for fair compensation for a very long time. It's my view that many people in this role have been underpaid, and they've been underpaid in part because HR and leaders didn't really understand the full scope of what you do. So it's not logical to think that you can be paid fairly if it's generally thought that they don't really understand or they don't know. So this document goes a long way in pulling the curtain back, and let's look at it with the data. Let us be data driven. And I haven't read it word for word. I admit that. I haven't read it word for word, but it's pretty lengthy. And I know that there is material in here about how to move from one level to the next. And your learning and development people can get involved. My hope is that part of the trend that we've begun to see is that when you create your deal package for getting hired at a company, that an annual training budget is part of that deal. The average amount that we're still seeing is around $5,000 US dollars for training and development in order for a person, for an assistant, male, female, to move between the levels. Level 1 is, Jen, can you just put up the levels again, please? Level 1 is receptionist level, entry level, and then it goes up from there. And if you don't have it handy, that's fine too. But so I urge everyone in the chat, if you can go to globalskillsmatrix.com, it is a completely free document. You can check out these levels and get a clearer understanding of where you fit, where you yourself fit, and then where you can start, creating your own charts based on your own organization. This document is meant to be modified. It is not meant to be, black and white, done deal, That's not the intention. The creators of this document understand that different organizations have different needs. Michelle, hi Michelle. What is it that's on your mind? One of my concerns with going away from the EA title is having people actually know what my role is, misunderstood as that may be. Thanks, Michelle. We didn't get to this place in a minute. And we know that this document has taken 6 years in the making. There are 160 different job titles for this role. The world seems to understand what the word assistant means: executive assistant, personal assistant, even though in the UK, for example, PA, and in many other parts of Europe, a PA is what we refer to as an EA here in the United States. A PA in London is an executive assistant. It has the same responsibilities. So there is a confusion of terms there. But this doc, I believe, will go a long way towards clarity and helping the leaders and HR professionals understand what's really in play for this role in 2021, moving into 2022 in the post-pandemic world. And I suspect that there will need to be language in here about hybrid workplaces and the ability to work remotely. That is a fairly new development, which really drove home with the pandemic. Angela Parker from Germany. Hi. Always wonderful to see your name. It's up to us to prove our value. I did so by documenting my accomplishments and got a nice pay raise. I never had a job description and all my roles evolved constantly. Angela, congratulations on your pay raise. I would say that it will serve most assistants to have a written job description with as much detail as possible, that it can't only be up here and, in your immediate circle for people to really understand what you do. I've heard too many stories where, as an assistant was really doing great with her team. And then guess what? The executive left. And then a new executive came in who didn't have any idea what this team did. And it was very useful to have documentation in writing on which to stand. Now, we know that executives and leaders love data and they love the facts. And I write a lot of articles. There's about, many of them about money and advocating for compensation. You can Google the article called Taboo No More: Breaking the Silence About Money. And it's all rooted in what you did, Angela, which is to put your business case in writing, is to document your achievements. And that's the heart of the business case. That's the heart of justifying whatever it is you want to do at your company. I can tell you that through this pandemic, there have been many, many assistants who have been able to morph their job description based on the needs. On this show, I know I've talked about the B2UAer who took the pandemic and was able to get her Outlook certification and then got her other certifications in Microsoft Office with Vicky. And she went back to her CEO leader and was so excited about what she learned in Outlook, for example, because she's so busy in Outlook every day, that she offered to do a lunch and learn for the administrative staff at her company. And the leader, her CEO, said, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, but why don't you invite the whole company? Because everybody in our company uses Outlook. And she was a little nervous, but said, absolutely. And of course, it was a virtual meeting. This happened during the pandemic. She thought that about 30 people would show up to the meeting, but she had 150 people who showed up at this meeting. And they were so excited about what they learned because, they also had their minds blown by the tips that Vicky shares. And and that are able to really speed up your work. And you know that if you speed up your work, if you save your executive time, that's money. So that resulted for this particular assistant in a promotion and in a pay raise. And she continues to teach the team from time to time different technologies as she's learned more. I mean, the CEO, how smart of the CEO? Why wouldn't you want one of your own to teach others what is it that they know? It's one thing for the assistant to know, it's a whole other thing to teach others on the team to be more effective. So yeah, I'm super excited about this global skills matrix. So Jen, if you could put up the scroll, there are a couple of things. We are almost sold out for Be the Ultimate Assistant in Colorado Springs. We've got truly one seat left. We're going to max out at 30 people. We are requiring proof of vaccination. So if you want that one last seat, that's not hype, I promise. We are calling it sold out very soon. Be the Ultimate Assistant on Demand is available for you. 11 hours of video content from Vicki and me. And I hope you'll go to my website for some many free resources, which many of you know about. And then to check out globalskillsmatrix.com to read this document for yourself, to see if it could work at your company. And then, I happen to know Claudia Hesk here. She is so generous with mentoring others. And Claudia, I'm volunteering you. Like, if anybody on this call, you've read the document, Claudia. So I hope that if anyone is interested in just getting your thoughts and your opinions, that they could reach out to you on LinkedIn. If we're not already first connections on LinkedIn, I certainly hope you will do that. So we will be here again next Wednesday. Karam, hi, Karam. Oh, Karam, I didn't forget about you. Karam is coming to Colorado Springs. He runs limolink.com, which is a terrific car company. And I recommend you all the time, Karam. Yes, I have not forgotten about you, and I'm going to be sending you that COVID protocol. So hopefully you're all vaxxed up, as I hope all of you are. Claudia, thank you. I knew that would be your response. Happy to help, as you always do. Jen Wilner, thanks for helping me out from behind the scenes. And we will see you next Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern time for another Heads Together. In the meantime, if you're interested in checking out our past episodes, the replays are all on my YouTube channel. Just go to BonnieLow-Kramen.com. And Jen informed me that next Wednesday is episode number 60. So we are definitely doing it. We're over a year in, and I have to say, I really look forward to every Wednesday to be able to talk about the things that are, burning, that are just, hot off the presses, like this global skills matrix. Lucy Brazier in the UK and Helen Monument. Helen Monument is the chair of the World Administrators Alliance, and they've worked so hard on this. So please, when you see it on social media, if you're inclined, please share it with others so the world's companies can get a very accurate idea of what this role is. And let's put some framework and structure around it finally, right? Finally. All right. See you next Wednesday. Thanks so much.